Good morning, River Park Church. This morning I want to talk to you about the temptation toward distraction. I am freshly back from 2 weeks of vacation and I feel like I've got lots of energy and excitement as we look forward to the fall. This fall, we're not only going to plan or celebrate our 70th anniversary as a church and look back on God's faithfulness and look forward to the future that He has for us. But also, as we slide into the fall, we are going to continue our sermon series on rest. And so it's in that vein that I'm thinking about the temptation of distraction. John Calvin starts his Institutes on the Christian Religion talking about how the knowledge of God and knowledge of self are intertwined. He says, without knowledge of self, there can be no knowledge of God. And as a quote here from that first section, he says, we cannot seriously aspire to God before we begin to become displeased with ourselves. As I think about this Sunday's sermon, continuing our series on rest, I want to look at what it means to have rest within ourselves, hence the conversation about distraction. So often, when we set our hands to our work, we sit down at our desk, something else quickly comes to mind and it tempts us to get up and go chase after that thing and quick get that done. If we do that enough times, we'll find that our entire day has been lost to side quests and meaningless or sometimes meaningful pursuits, the things that distract us from our main task. This is just using work as an example. But we do the same things in our personal lives. We hope to have a conversation with a friend or a spouse or a child. And as we set up for it, we remember suddenly that we have some other task or responsibility to do. Or maybe we just say, well, I'll just quick turn on the TV and I'll do it after this show or this movie. We are easily distracted, I think, in large part because we have grown uncomfortable with ourselves. It's not a common thing in our world or in our society today to spend a lot of time in reflection. We don't know what to do with times of quiet. When I've tried to lead us in a congregational prayer and invite some time for silence, we often find that after even 15 seconds or 20 seconds of silence, we become, as a church, very restless and uncomfortable. I think that's likely mirrored in the privacy of our own homes as well. So this week, I want to invite you to wonder about connecting with yourself. What does it look like for you to take some time to be quiet? To take some time to examine your own heart, to see what is in you that is good and beautiful, that God has given you as a gift, that ought to be celebrated, encouraged, and also that you ought to thank God for. But also, what would it look like for you to spend some time recognizing the things in yourself that are broken, that are uncomfortable, the wounds that remain from weeks or months or even years and decades ago? And also to ponder those things without judgment, just to notice them. And to wonder what God wants to do with all of you, with the good and the strength that you have, but also with your weakness and brokenness. We can remember the joy of being a Christian when we remember the words of the Apostle Paul. Jesus Christ came to save sinners, of whom I am the worst. When we pause the busyness of our lives and see ourselves as honestly as we truly are, we begin to get a deeper appreciation for God's love for us. We have the opportunity to see our strengths and celebrate them more fully, and also to see our weaknesses and our pain, and to celebrate God's grace and love more fully, and loving each of us just as we are. So I challenge you to take some time later this week or even getting into next week, set aside a half hour, an hour, maybe even just 15 minutes to be quiet, to be alone with your thoughts. Take a journal, take a pen and paper if it's helpful. Spend some time just reflecting on yourself. The psalmist says, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I know that full well. I hope you might know that full well this week as well. Between now and Sunday, I pray that God will bless you, and I look forward to worshiping together as a congregation this Sunday at 10 a.m.